Starting at the top of the iceberg, we have Chernobyl. On the evening of April 26, 1986, a late-night safety test was underway at Reactor 4 of the Chernobyl power plant when a sudden power surge caused the core to rupture. Within seconds, two explosions tore through the building and exposed the reactor to open air, releasing more than 400 times the radiation of Hiroshima. A graphite fire burned for days, sending radioactive material across Europe. Many of the first responders lost their lives within weeks, and the surrounding 30-kilometer exclusion zone remains one of the most contaminated places on Earth. Diving deeper, we have the Goiânia accident. In September 1987, two scrap collectors in Goiânia, Brazil, found an abandoned radiotherapy machine inside a deserted clinic. They unknowingly broke it open and released highly radioactive cesium-137 powder, which glowed an eerie blue. Residents touched it, played with it, and even used it as decoration. By the time authorities realized what happened, entire neighborhoods were contaminated. 4 people passed away from acute radiation poisoning, and dozens required long-term treatment. Descending further, we reach Fukushima Daiichi. On March 11, 2011, a massive 9.0 earthquake struck Japan, followed by a towering tsunami that overwhelmed the Fukushima Daiichi power plant. Flooded emergency generators caused cooling systems to fail, leading to 3 reactor meltdowns. Hydrogen explosions blasted apart buildings, releasing radioactive iodine and cesium across land and ocean. It was the largest nuclear disaster since Chernobyl, and cleanup efforts are expected to last decades. Going even deeper into the iceberg, we find 3 Mile Island on March 28, 1979. A mechanical failure at the 3 Mile Island plant in Pennsylvania caused a cooling malfunction in Reactor 2. Operators misinterpreted the warning signals, allowing the core to overheat and partially melt. Although only a relatively small amount of radiation escaped, the event triggered nationwide panic and reshaped nuclear safety protocols in the United States. Dropping further, we uncover Sellafield throughout the second half of the 20th century. The Sellafield site in the UK experienced numerous leaks and contamination events. One of the most significant problems was the discharge of radioactive waste into the Irish Sea, making it one of the most polluted marine environments on the planet. The site became infamous for chronic management failures and long-term environmental consequences. Sinking deeper, we reach the SL-1 accident. On January 3, 1961, a small experimental reactor in Idaho suffered a sudden and violent steam explosion when a control rod was pulled too far out. The blast propelled the entire reactor vessel upward and terminated all 3 operators instantly. The radiation released was localized, but the accident remains the only fatal reactor meltdown in U.S. history. Near the bottom of the iceberg, we find the Kyshtym disaster. In September 1957, a storage tank containing nuclear waste at the Mayak facility in the Soviet Union overheated and exploded with the force of a small conventional bomb. The blast released about 80 tons of highly radioactive material, contaminating thousands of square kilometers. The Soviet government kept the event secret for decades, and entire villages were evacuated without explanation. And at the deepest point of the iceberg, we have the Windscale fire. In October 1957, the Windscale reactor in the UK overheated during a routine annealing procedure. A fire broke out inside the reactor core and burned for over 2 days, releasing large amounts of radioactive iodine into the atmosphere. Milk from nearby farms had to be destroyed for weeks to prevent contamination. It remains the worst nuclear accident in British history.